Hey everybody, welcome back to Life with Type 1 Diabetes. It's Kara. I hope you had a fantastic Halloween weekend, and welcome to November 1st, which is National or International Diabetes Awareness Month. Diabetes Awareness Month, the color of the month is blue, and it is just all about awareness of people living with type 1 diabetes and what it looks like and what the challenges are, and just understanding what diabetes is for those who might not be as aware of what diabetes is and the challenges that it comes along with. This month, I am going to be continuing my journey in my stories on YouTube here about moving from the multiple daily injections to the insulin therapy, so the insulin pump therapy, that I chose to do as soon as I knew I was able to switch to that. And with that, there are several different pump therapies you can use. There is the Tandem T-Slim X2 insulin pump with the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor, which is what I use. There is the Omnipod Dash or Omnipod 5, which in the UK and in the United States has just been approved. That also works in conjunction with the G6, the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. Then there is the Medtronic pump, which uses Medtronic sensors, which are very similar to the Dexcom G6 sensors. And there are also regular insulin pens that don't have any smart technology to them. And then there are also smart insulin pens which use Bluetooth with your phone, and it tracks all your insulin intake for you. The pump therapy, I find, has just been amazing for me, because now with the Tandem T-Slim X2 insulin pump, with working in Dexcom G6 as well, it really has helped me to keep a tighter control of my blood sugars, and it essentially acts as an artificial pancreas, at least as close as we can get right now. And you know, when I first started, I started on an older pump that is no longer in existence. It was called the Animus insulin pump. It was company owned by Johnson & Johnson. And that was really good when I first started. But they also had a couple different models. And at the time, this was early 2010 era, they had what was called the Animus Vibe, which at the time was approved to work in conjunction with the Dexcom G4, which I believe was the first Dexcom continuous glucose monitor on the market. I, at the time, didn't have that. I didn't actually start using Dexcom until like a year and a half ago. And that was before I switched to the Tandem T-Slim X2 insulin pump, which was like the best decision I ever made. So the Animus pump worked really well for me. And I used my glucose monitor and a lancing device, and that was how I kept checking everything. I had a log that I would write all my numbers down in, and it was great. The thing about the Animus pump, though, for me, was that I got close hung on it a little bit more often, and so sometimes my infusion set sites would just rip out if it got caught on a door handle or a chest of drawer handle or something like that, so that was a little bit annoying. And then after that, when they decided, the Animus company decided they didn't want to continue operating, I then had a choice between all these ones. Oh, and also in Canada, there's a pump called Ypsomed. I've never used it, but I've heard it's good for some people. But when I was done with Animus, I had to pick which one I was going to use. And so then I went to the Omnipod Eros is what it's called, which doesn't have any tubing. It is a big patch. I'll insert a picture here, or I'll put it on my title card. But it's this big patch, and it works with, it's like a Bluetooth device almost, which looks like a small phone. Omnipod 5, or the Dash, the receiver looks like a disabled Android phone. And so that's how you give yourself your insulin, is from there. And then after a while, I decided that wasn't working for me at all. So then I switched to the Tandem t:slim X2 insulin pump. And for me, the thing you have to remember about insulin pump therapy, if you are thinking about insulin pump therapy, is that the cannula sizes, so the little tiny thing that goes into your skin where you get your insulin, there are different lengths. Now, some pumps, like some pump companies, offer different lengths, and with Omnipod, they only offer a 6 millimeter length, which for me didn't go deep enough into my interstitial fluid to allow me to get the best absorption. And so for me, I needed an 8 or 9 millimeter cannula to get better insulin absorption. And so when I realized that Omnipod only had one cannula size, that was when I realized I needed to switch to a different insulin pump in order to get better control of my blood sugars. So then I did that, and it's been really great. I have had some hiccups, as you do with everything, and with every pump therapy you pick, or insulin therapy period, there are pros and cons to all of them. And so no one therapy is right for every individual who lives with diabetes. So like, no judgment to Omnipod at all. It was a great insulin pump for a while. But for me, I just was discovering that I needed a little bit better control, and there was only so many ways I was going to be able to get that control. And so whenever I learned that November was Diabetes Awareness Month, I really wanted to do my best to advocate for myself and for others around that and what that could look like for everybody, because of the fact that diabetes is not a one-size-fits-all. It never has been, and it never will be. So no matter who you are, whether you have type 1 or type 2, it's gonna look different for everybody, and you don't necessarily know if someone has diabetes unless they tell you, or you happen to see an insulin pump on that person, or a continuous glucose monitor, or a flash glucose monitor. There's a flash glucose monitor called the Freestyle Libre, and so you can have that too. And so it's just different for everybody. And for me, I don't mind wearing my stuff on my arms or where my infusion sites are exposed, because I love telling people what it is and educating them a little bit more on diabetes rather than just walking past, because I've had so many people ask me and not realize that you can get diabetes, like type 1 diabetes, after the age of 18, because so many people are like, oh, you can only get type 1 diabetes when you're a child. Well, no, that's not the case at all. There's a description called late onset type 1 diabetes, whereby you can get diagnosed at any age. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or if you're 50. You can get diabetes, type 1 diabetes specifically. And it's hard because it changes your life. And in my earlier stories, I've talked about the challenges that happened with it because I got diagnosed as an adult. I was just coming out of college. I was kind of in the middle of college, actually, almost done. And then I get this diagnosis, and I had no idea what to do with it. I was completely freaked out because all of a sudden now I have to deal with this thing that I never had to deal with before. And it was so hard, and it still is. And diabetes is such a mind game as well. Like, it's not just about the physical stuff you have to do, like checking your blood sugars with a glucose monitor, or having to put in a Dexcom G6 or Freestyle Libre every 10 or 14 days, or changing an insulin pump site every 2 to 3 days. Like, it's not just about that. It's about the mental side of it too, where it is a challenge sometimes to want to always check your blood sugars or keep them in check, or not care what amount of carbs you are eating that day or that meal or whatever. And holidays, no matter what they are, Christmas, Easter, Hanukkah, sweets at Ramadan, or Eid, or Halloween, any of those, it is very difficult sometimes to want to keep them in check, because all you want to do is just have that sweet treat or have that glass of sweet juice or whatever it is, and not have to think about the carbs. But as people living with type 1 diabetes, we always have to think about the carb count. We always have to either do a sliding scale with multiple daily injections, or we have to put the carb amount, or guess the carb amount even, into your pump and hope that the amount of insulin you're receiving is the correct amount of insulin for whatever it is you're consuming. And it can be all consuming. And for me, that is why over the years, Diabetes Awareness Month has become so near and dear to me, because so many people are just not aware of the complexities that diabetes comes with. There are so many little things that, unless you know what they are and how challenging it is to have diabetes, you would not know at all. Like, it doesn't even cross people's mind. And so this is my first video for Diabetes Awareness Month. I think I'm going to end it here for today, and I will continue doing either YouTube shorts or another sit down video or a walk and talk or something like that over this next month. If you have any questions, please comment below, or if you have a comment, feel free to comment below also. If you liked this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Have yourself a great first week of National or International Diabetes Awareness Month, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!